Welcome to Tamara Research Writing Guides. I'm Ada, your AI-supported instructor. In this video, we will learn an essential writing skill, writing an essay conclusion. Subscribe now and never miss our writing guides. When it comes to writing essays, the conclusion marks the end of your work and can be a bit tricky to nail. So how can you leave a lasting impact on your readers and highlight the importance of your essay? So basically, an essay conclusion should restate your thesis statement, highlight the major points in your essay, and include your final thoughts on the subject. Before going into the steps, let's see a few examples to understand how they cover all these points. We have two different examples from different types of essays for you. The first one is taken from an essay on social media and its impacts. The first sentence takes us back to the thesis statement, which argues social media is effective on public opinion. In the second part, we see a summary of the main supporting points for this argument and the claims made in the essay. And in the last sentence, the writer expands on the subject to give a final comment. The next example is a literary analysis conclusion. It's again a very simple paragraph starting with a summary of the main points about the subject. Then you can see a somewhat detailed analysis of The Lord of the Rings. To close it out, the writer explains the importance of this literary work to her readers. Now we've seen the main components of an essay conclusion, let's jump into the steps of writing a great one. The first step when you write an essay conclusion is restating your thesis statement. But the important thing here is paraphrasing your argument to show its evolution since the introduction, instead of simply repeating it. This not only supports your main message, but also highlights the journey of your essay. As you can see in the example, the thesis statement in the introduction and the conclusion have the basically same message. Both talk about the power of social media on the public opinion and its potential risks. But there is a nuance between the two, as there should be. Now that the first step is over, let's move into the next one. The second step is giving a summary of your main points. Essays can be very long, so it's a good idea to provide a summary of the arguments for your readers. However, while doing this, make sure you don't just chronologically summarize each paragraph. Instead, you should create a natural link between the arguments. Plus, always remember that conclusions should only include the critical points, so details aren't necessary. This part of our social media essay example lays out their findings and summarizes the essential points. It first talks about the very important study on how people get their daily news. Then it points out how social media algorithms work. Both of these points are very critical for this essay as they are closely related to the subject itself. After recapping the main points, the third step is making larger implications. Now that we've summarized the key points in your essay, let's zoom out for a broader perspective on the subject. Take a moment to reflect on the implications and consequences of your argument. Consider the bigger picture and explore how your point contributes to the larger conversation on the topic. As you can see in this example, the writer uses their essay as a way to suggest a new perspective on why we need to control digital media to protect press freedom. This is a broader perspective than the initial subject of the essay. And finally, the last step of writing a conclusion for your essay is ending with a closing sentence. This sentence should give your readers a feeling of closure, so it should indicate the importance of your main points, encourage them to get a different perspective, and should be a catchy sentence to be remembered. So take a look at our example. It clearly highlights the personal views of the writer while encouraging readers to think in a specific way. You can also see the writer indicating why it is important to create a healthy media, as she says, it empowers people to make their informed decisions. This explains why the main argument matters and closes the essay with a strong message. So these were all the steps for an essay conclusion. Let's now check out the things you need to avoid before closing up the video. There are 3 things you should definitely avoid when writing your essay conclusion. First of all, you don't need to use phrases like "in conclusion" to indicate you're at the end of your essay. These phrases will likely seem unprofessional as your readers don't need these markers. You also shouldn't just repeat all the things you already said. While the conclusion doesn't bring up new ideas, it should offer a special comment as the final part of the essay. And finally, never introduce a new concept in the conclusion, as this will definitely confuse your readers. That's all we have for today. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so you never miss our writing guides. I'm Ada from Tamara Research, and I'll see you in the next video.